These thugs thought they were untouchable. They broke into a quiet home, looking for a quick score and an easy kill. But before they could end this old couple's lives, they got a warning that should have chilled their blood. Their son isn't just a soldier, he's a deadly special ops ghost. The story kicks off with a plane touching down, and shortly after, we see a man sitting alone in his car. This is Jimmy Vickers. Jimmy is drowning in a sea of sadness as he slowly drives through the city. One thing keeps playing on a loop in his head, a voicemail from his mother. In the message, she tells him she's waiting for him to come home. It's a simple message that has now become a haunting memory. As soon as Jimmy arrives, he gets a cryptic call from his friend, Griffin. Griffin drops a bombshell, telling Jimmy that what they feared would happen has finally happened, and he needs to watch his back. We quickly realize that Jimmy has lost someone he loves dearly, and he is absolutely devastated. He is a man on a mission, determined to get to the bottom of this nightmare and find out who is responsible. Jimmy heads straight to a local shop to find answers. He confronts two people there, a girl named Debs and a guy named Terry. Jimmy begins a cold, intense interrogation, but they both swear they don't know a thing. Terry eventually loses his patience and tells Jimmy that if he's just there to cause a scene, he needs to get out immediately. Jimmy lets out a dark, chilling laugh. He tells them his house is only 50 feet away, the house where his parents lived. He knows they are lying to his face. He tells them that if his parents had screamed, the sound would have easily reached this very shop. He knows they saw something that night. When Terry starts acting tough and misbehaving, Jimmy snaps. Before Terry's friends can even move to protect him, Jimmy shows them exactly what he's capable of. With the skill of a high-level special ops officer, he takes down everyone who steps to him, one by one, with brutal precision. Now terrified and broken, Terry finally spills everything. He confesses that he saw 4 men heading toward the house that night. He watched them break down the door and storm inside. He heard Jimmy's father screaming for his life, but Terry was too paralyzed by fear to help. Jimmy finally understands the horrific truth. His parents' death wasn't some tragic accident, they were targeted and taken out. He returns to his home and walks into the garage, where everything has been reduced to ash. This is the spot where his parents were caught in a fire. Looking at the charred remains, Jimmy breaks down in tears. He picks up a framed photo of his parents, and the sight of their faces sends his emotions over the edge. The story then shifts into a flashback. We see Jimmy's parents, George and his wife, in much happier times. His mother is telling George that they need to get the whole house cleaned up and looking perfect. She wants everything to be exactly as it was before so that Jimmy feels right at home the moment he returns from his service. While they are planning their reunion, we see the villains of the story. 4 drug-addicted thugs sitting in a car. They are fueled by high-stakes adrenaline and looking for their next target. They've spotted a local girl who carries large bank deposits every day, and they've been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As she walks to her car, the thugs pull on their terrifying rabbit masks. They tail her and, as soon as they get the chance, they swerve their car in front of hers, blocking her path and violently dragging the girl out of her vehicle. The thugs tear the car apart searching for the money, but they come up empty-handed. Frustrated and fueled by adrenaline, they turn their attention to the girl, preparing to harm her. But right at that moment, George Vickers pulls up. The second he sees these goons harassing an innocent woman, he doesn't hesitate. He steps out of his car to intervene. The thugs growl at him to back off, warning him that things will get ugly, but George isn't intimidated. He slowly moves toward them, ready to stand his ground. One of the goons lunges at George, but George has the reflexes of a man who knows how to defend himself. He dodges the attack and delivers a brutal beating to the attacker. Seeing their friend go down, the rest of the gang pulls out knives, circling George like a pack of wolves. However, they realize a crowd is starting to gather and the situation is spinning out of control. Fearing the police, they flee the scene, leaving their companion behind. The man George struck is dead. The police arrive to take the girl's statement, but the mood shifts when they check the body. A police officer named Hullett approaches George with grim news. He's being charged with murder. George is stunned. He explains he was only trying to save the girl, but Hullett is cold, telling George that the law doesn't care, he's going to jail. Meanwhile, the surviving thugs return to their boss, Warren. When Warren hears that his own brother was the one killed, he flies into a blind fury. He swears he won't rest until George Vickers is dead. The gang waits at the house, and by evening, George is released on bail. As soon as he gets home, the killers strike. 2 men knock on the gate, and when George looks through the peephole, they thrust a sharp object through it, stabbing him in the eye. The gang storms inside, assaulting George's wife while the others torture George. They mock him, telling him he should have minded his own business. Finally, they drag the couple to the garage, tie them to chairs, and douse them in petrol. Warren tells George that because his brother died, George's death will be slow and agonizing. He tells them to say their final prayers before setting them both on fire. They are burned alive in their own home, and that is where the story returns to the present day. We find Jimmy back in that same garage, haunted by the memory of his parents. His friend Griffin arrives, and we discover that Griffin is actually a police officer. He reveals that a neighbor saw a black BMW that night, but they have no license plate and no solid evidence yet. They are scouring CCTV footage, but so far, they've hit a dead end. Jimmy can't handle the talk of procedure, and leaves the garage in tears. The next morning, Jimmy stands by his parents' grave for hours, lost in his grief. He receives a message from his wife, Morgan, wanting to meet at a church. Morgan had previously wanted a divorce, but the tragedy has softened her heart. She tells Jimmy she messaged him 5 times and felt terrible missing the funeral. She knows he's a man who carries a heavy burden and feels alone, but she insists she is there for him. Jimmy doesn't say a word, he just walks away, leaving her standing there. Soon after, Griffin calls with a massive breakthrough. They've tracked the black BMW to a man named Warren, the brother of the man Jimmy's father killed. Griffin hands over the CCTV footage, and Jimmy's mission becomes clear. That night, as Warren leaves the gym and sits in his car, Jimmy slams his own vehicle into the back of Warren's. An angry Warren jumps out to confront the driver, but he has no idea who he's messing with. Jimmy, a highly trained special ops officer, dominates the fight. Warren tries to fight back, but Jimmy beats him into a pulp and drags his unconscious body away. Hours later, Warren wakes up tied inside his own car, with Jimmy pouring petrol over everything. Warren starts screaming, and Jimmy leans in, asking if he remembers the 2 people he burned alive. "I am their son," Jimmy growls. Warren, showing his true evil, just laughs. He says he has no regrets and even mocks Jimmy's mother. Infuriated, Jimmy gives him one choice: write down the names of every gang member involved, or die right now. Warren frantically scribbles the names, hoping for mercy. But the moment Jimmy has the list, he strikes a match and burns Warren alive. Later, Jimmy goes to see Morgan. As they talk, the adrenaline wears off and Jimmy's own injuries become clear. Morgan noticed blood soaking through his t-shirt and realizes his stomach is wounded. She quickly gets to work, stitching his wound and caring for him. In that moment of vulnerability, the walls between them crumble. Despite their past troubles and the looming divorce, they find themselves closer than they've been in years, spending the night together as the hunt for the rest of the gang begins. Early the next morning, Morgan heads to her office while the news of Warren's death spreads like wildfire across every TV station. Surprisingly, nobody seems concerned. Warren had thousands of enemies, and most people figure his past finally caught up with him. However, his associates, Rob and Leon, are spiraling. They were part of the crew that killed Jimmy's parents, and they're convinced Warren was taken out by his own business partner, Caleb. Armed to the teeth, they storm into Caleb's place, demanding to know why he betrayed Warren. Caleb insists he's innocent, but the tension explodes when Caleb's girlfriend steps out and opens fire to protect him. Caleb gives them one final warning: he didn't kill Warren, and if they show their faces again, they're dead. Rob and Leon retreat, realized they are chasing a ghost. Meanwhile, Griffin tracks down Jimmy. He knows exactly who killed Warren. He begs Jimmy to stop his crusade, warning him that by punishing these criminals, he's only destroying his own soul. Jimmy's response is cold and calculated. He tells Griffin that the police are useless, that criminals treat the law like a joke and spit in the face of officers who are too buried in paperwork to act. Jimmy isn't just angry, he's lost all faith in the system. The truth of Jimmy's words hits Griffin hard later that day. He witnesses a brutal home robbery where the owner is murdered, and he sees how casually his superior, Holland, handles it. Holland doesn't care about justice. He tells Griffin to take it easy, noting that the department only cares about the payout and the paperwork. It's clear that for men like Holland, the badge is just a way to get ahead. Jimmy, however, is already moving on his next target, Ryan. He corners Ryan in a washroom, and though Ryan tries to fight back, he's no match for a special ops predator. Jimmy knocks him unconscious and takes him to a deserted location. Jimmy knows exactly how to make a death slow and agonizing. He ties Ryan to a chair, places a tube in his mouth, and pours in wet cement. It's a horrific, suffocating end. The next day, the police discover the body. Holland realizes there's a professional vigilante cleaning up the streets. Seeing this as his ticket to a big promotion, Holland gets serious and starts scouring CCTV footage. He eventually finds a shot of Jimmy's face at a restaurant, clearly showing him loading an unconscious man into his trunk. Fear ripples through the community. Debs, who saw the footage at the shop, begs her husband not to turn it over to the police, fearing Jimmy's wrath. But her husband insists they have to cooperate to survive. The police mobilize to arrest Jimmy, heading straight to Morgan's house. Morgan stays loyal, claiming she hasn't seen Jimmy in days. Once the police leave, we see Jimmy was hiding inside the whole time. Morgan is furious and terrified, but Jimmy ignores her questions and slips out into the night. As he exits, 2 officers move in to arrest him, but a black car swerves to a halt. 2 men jump out, neutralizing the police in seconds. Out steps Colonel Leach. He tells Jimmy to get in and reminds him that he is the most capable soldier the team has ever seen. The colonel makes it clear, the military is protecting him, but he only has 24 hours to finish his business before he has to disappear back into special ops. While the police hunt intensifies, Griffin tries to sabotage the investigation from the inside. He tells the department sniper Joe that Jimmy is a friend who is simply seeking justice for his murdered parents. He exposes Holland's true colors, explaining that the chief only wants to catch Jimmy for a promotion that will lead to even more corruption. Jimmy isn't slowing down. He sends Leon a gruesome message, an envelope containing a photo of Rob's dead body. Terrified, Leon tries to run, but Jimmy is already behind him. After being knocked out, Leon wakes up in a nightmare. Jimmy has chained his feet to a heavy gate and tied his hands to the back of his car. After getting the final answers he needs, Jimmy hits the gas, literally tearing Leon apart. The pressure shifts to the high-ranking officials. Colonel Leach meets Holland in a cafe and demands he hand over all evidence against Jimmy. He warns Holland that Jimmy is a ghost, a man who once solved a high-level bombing case in 10 minutes when the entire army failed. Leach makes it clear, if Holland keeps chasing Jimmy, he's going up against the CIA and the Special Ops, and he won't survive that fight. The situation reaches the highest levels of government. In a tense meeting between the police commissioner and the army chief, the order is given. The commissioner is told to destroy every piece of evidence against Jimmy Vickers. He is considered a national asset, who is too important to lose to a prison cell. No matter what he's done on the streets, Jimmy is protected by the shadows. While the authorities scramble, Jimmy is back on the hunt. He tracks down Rob yet again and drags him to a secret hideout. Inside, Jimmy goes on a calculated rampage, taking out a group of high-level drug dealers one by one with lethal efficiency. In the absolute chaos of the shootout, Rob manages to find a window of opportunity and slips away into the night. Jimmy doesn't waste time chasing him just yet. Instead, he tracks down Caleb, the man at the center of the local drug trade. Jimmy doesn't just want him dead, he wants it to be poetic. He secures the very chemicals Caleb uses to destroy lives and uses them to end Caleb's life in a slow, agonizing way. Meanwhile, back at the station, Holland is losing his mind. He's figured out that Griffin has been helping Jimmy and hauls him into his office. He demands to know Jimmy's next move, but Griffin just stares him down. He reminds Holland that his superiors gave him a direct order to stand down, but Holland is too arrogant to listen. He finds out that Rob has checked into a hospital for his injuries and decides to use the criminal as bait. Following Holland's crooked plan, Rob is released and heads straight for Jimmy's house. He rummages through Jimmy's personal mail and belongings before slipping away. The next day, the trap seems to work as Jimmy snatches Rob once more and hauls him to a deserted location. Jimmy forces him to the floor and pulls out a syringe. He tells Rob that this injection will eat him alive from the inside out, a pain worse than any nightmare. But Rob just sneers and spits in Jimmy's face. He tells Jimmy he should check the trunk of his car before he starts celebrating. Jimmy's heart drops. He pries open the trunk, only to find the lifeless body of his wife, Morgan. Rob had tracked her down and ended her life just to get back at Jimmy. Blinded by a pure, white-hot rage, Jimmy doesn't even use the needle. He pulls his weapon and empties the entire magazine into Rob's chest. Suddenly, the area is swarmed. Holland arrives with a full SWAT team, surrounding Jimmy with high-caliber rifles. But before they can open fire, Griffin steps into the line of sight. He screams at Holland, calling him a wolf in human clothing. He exposes the truth to the entire team. Holland intentionally let a murderer like Rob go free, knowing he would target Morgan, just to lure Jimmy out. The SWAT team is disgusted. Realizing they are being used for a personal vendetta by a corrupt boss, they lower their weapons. They radio back to headquarters with a fake report, claiming Jimmy has already escaped the perimeter. Jimmy begins to walk away, but a humiliated Holland grabs a gun to take a coward shot. Jimmy is faster. He turns and levels Holland with a single massive punch, leaving the corrupt chief bleeding on the ground. Not a single officer moves to stop Jimmy as he walks into the shadows. Time passes, and the city remains a dark place, but it has a guardian. One night, a woman stepping out to take out the trash is cornered by two predators. As they move in to assault her, a figure emerges from the darkness. It's Jimmy. The goons tell him to get lost, but Jimmy just smiles. He knows exactly what comes next. This is his life's purpose now, to be the nightmare for those who ruin the lives of the innocent. And that is the brutal, high-stakes story of Vendetta. It's a powerful look at what happens when a specialist is pushed too far and the system fails to protect its own. If you enjoyed this journey into justice, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Cinemaned for more intense movie breakdowns. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a status flip story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.